Well, you may be thinking of resting this festive season, but criminals are working overtime. There's a high risk of banking fraud at ATMs and online. For more on how not to become a victim, the South African Banking Risk Information Centre's Kevin Kwiname joining us this evening to give us an idea of how we can keep our money safe. Kevin, good evening.
Good
Thanks
evening,
so much
Rebecca. Thank you
for your time. Yeah, so I'm looking at the statement that's been sent out, talking about criminals using the opportunity to exploit human psychology and using malicious social engineering tactics to steal personal information and defraud people. It sounds very scary. So what exactly are we talking about? What kind of tactics?
Good. So in short, festive season, people joyous, laid back, relaxed, and want to participate in all the festivities. And as a result, very trusting. We're also appreciative of the fact that there's a lot of activity from a banking perspective during this particular period. And criminals also see this as an opportunity which is afforded to them, and will, in using that malicious social engineering tactics that they use, make sure that they defraud bank customers, particularly of hard-earned cash. Now, there are a few areas that we are concerned with at least. In the social engineering environment, we in the banking industry refer to confidential information and personal information. Now, perhaps it would be wise just to tell you how the banking industry sees these two areas. When it comes to confidential information, we refer to bank passwords, PINs, usernames, bank secure codes on cards, as opposed to the personal information, which is none other than your ID document, driver's license, and so forth. Now, it's that area that criminals are targeting and wanting, because they utilize that, and on some occasions can even assume your identity and take over your portfolio and use that to defraud you.
Now, I see when it comes to the different tactics that you've laid out here or set out, there are some we know about. There are some, yes, like ATM card swapping. We know how they do that. Online shopping, we know what the different scams. So there are some others here. Vishing.
Sure.
Not phishing, but vishing we're talking about, and then holiday scams. If you can just give us a little bit about that as well, and then also stockfile groups also becoming vulnerable as well now.
Certainly. I think from the outside, I'd just like to tell you that that one must not get the impression from what we are doing in this particular period that it's restricted to the festive season only.
Yes.
It happens throughout the year.
It just gets
but
worse
the opportunities now afford themselves to such an extent that these particular ones that we've now raised, and I'm now going to just talk about, are what we see and are concerned about. So firstly, when we look at phishing, very similar. You're acquainted with the terms phishing, email-wise. The SMS is smishing, and obviously phishing is the voice one, is where bank customers are contacted by criminals purporting to be from a bank center and are coerced into providing confidential and personal information, which they then would use to defraud you. Very good examples are one-time passwords, which are confidential, should not be revealed. A bank will never call you and ask you for that confidential information.
So that's a red flag. If
Absolutely.
they ask you for that
Absolutely.
Okay, and holiday scams, I would imagine, is about websites.
Absolutely. Websites are making available accommodation which in fact doesn't exist. Go online and particularly coerce you into going into the area of EFTs to pay for this, only later to find out that individual doesn't exist, and neither does the holiday destination.
And you've paid a deposit or something like that. All right, so just enough time to give customers or give consumers some tips. So
there's a few of them. I think very important that if your bank card is compromised, for example, in an ATM, make sure that you report it immediately to the bank. And scrutinize your bank statement. Absolutely, and it must be regular. And then if your cell phone is taken and you're using digital banking, report that also to the bank
Yes.
Immediately, so that they can disable your.
Because there's a lot of
your
information
application.
on that phone.
Yes,
as well, to
absolutely.
block it. Okay, so very simple things. I think just if you can deal with cash over the holidays, I suppose, but you don't want to be carrying a lot of cash around with you as well, because people are watching that too. Or just be wary.
Certainly, I would take the opportunity to also advise people out there to perhaps go to our website. There's a whole host of tips on
Yes.
there in the areas that we've just touched on.
Yeah, it's a busy
that will be
time.
available.
It's a busy
Yes.
time for criminals as well. Thank you very much,
Absolutely.
Kevin. Okay, that's Sabric's tips for you on how you can protect yourself and your money over the festive season. Still to